All right, this video isn't like other videos I've done. I'm out with the cows in this prairie-like area, and I'm gonna bring in a researcher, a PhD candidate that's gonna tell us all about how cows impact butterflies. So how cool is this gonna be? So Dave the Butterfly Guy here. I'm out at the Sherburne Wildlife Refuge with Austin Yantes. And I want to introduce her to you, but Austin, tell us who you are. Why am I out here with you today?
Hi, I'm a PhD candidate at the University of Minnesota. I'm in the Natural Resources program, and then I manage a research project out here where we are using cattle to try to restore oak savanna ecosystems.
Oak savanna ecosystem. So you're going to tell us all about that, right? What is an oak savanna ecosystem?
Yeah, so an oak savanna is basically just a prairie, right? So think lots of grasses and wildflowers, and then a few scattered oak trees. So big, widely spaced oaks. It's a very park-like, beautiful ecosystem.
So why would that be really cool for butterflies? Why is it important habitat for butterflies?
Yeah, oak savannas are great habitat for all sorts of wildlife. They're a really diverse ecosystem, so there's a ton of grass and wildflower species that could be host plants for butterflies. And then just their wide open structure is also a really good habitat for animals.
And so oak savannas, tell us about the history of it. Wasn't it a really big deal at one time in the Midwest?
Yeah, so oak savannas used to cover huge swaths of the Midwest. We're talking millions of acres, right? So it was a really common ecosystem across Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, all the way down to Texas. And then over time, due to agriculture, urban expansion, we've really destroyed the ecosystem. So we're down to about 0.02% of the original acres. So it's one of the most endangered ecosystems in all of North America.
Great, thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
All right, we're on the Sherburne Wildlife Refuge, but Austin, tell us a little bit more about this refuge.
Yeah, so we're out here. This is all federally managed land. It's managed by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. It's a 37,000 acre refuge, so one of the bigger ones in the Midwest. Their main priority is waterfowl management, so there's a lot of wetlands, but then this is also a huge area of oak savanna, prairie, oak forest, and so they're really protecting a lot of habitat out here, and because of that we see all sorts of cool butterfly species.
Yeah. Austin, are there any butterflies that this is the habitat for and they're kind of a unique butterfly?
Yeah, so one savanna specialist species is the Karner blue butterfly, which is actually federally endangered. So there are very few left, and it's one of the main reasons that butterfly people really want to restore oak savanna is because that's the only habitat where that butterfly species lives.
Oh, your work is really important. We got to save that butterfly. You're doing research, so tell us about the research you're doing in these oak savannas.
Yeah, so we've got this area of oak savanna that has been totally taken over by shrubs. So if you remember from earlier in the video, what we're looking for is more of a prairie, right? With lots of grasses and wildflowers, but instead we've got shrub thickets. So we are trying to take cattle, beef cattle, bring them in here in really high numbers, and see if we can use the cows to beat up on the shrubs, knock them back, and shift the vegetation to more of those grass and flower species that we want to see as butterfly habitat.
There's a lot of flies back here, Austin.
Kidding.
Deer flies. But so the cows come in and they eat all the shrubbery to try and restore the prairie-like stuff. Okay.
Yeah, so they eat the shrubs, but then they also trample them, break the stems, and then we hope that that has a lasting effect and allows some of the grasses and flowers to come in once they're not getting shaded out by the shrubs anymore.
So Austin, you have to get farmers to bring their cows out here to eat down this shrubbery. How do you get farmers to do that?
Yeah, so the refuge just puts out a bid to farmers. They say this is how much it costs to graze your cows out here. And then the farmers bid on it, and then they just agree to work as partners with the refuge, and they sign a contract, and then they're out here.
So it must be economical for them, so it must not be more expensive to do this.
Yeah, relatively speaking, it's pretty cheap to graze on federal land. All of the cows that are out here are being raised to be beef cows, so we're trying to achieve the goal of making sure the cows gain enough weight and they're healthy and high production, and then also we're balancing that with trying to achieve our ecosystem goals. So agriculture and conservation working together.
Wow. For me, it's cows and butterflies. Amazing combo. So Austin, you're doing research out here. You're a PhD student. Tell us about your research and what are you trying to do?
Yeah, so like I said, we're trying to shift the plant community from being dominated by shrubs to being dominated by the flowers and grasses that we want to see in a savanna. So it's been a 3-year research project, and every year we come out to these permanent vegetation plot markers, and we survey what kind of plants are there, but then we also do a butterfly survey. So we'll stand at this post and we'll observe all the butterflies we see in an arc for 2 minutes. So we'll write down the species, how many there were, and what behavior they were doing. And so that's how we've been keeping track of both how the vegetation is changing, but also how the cows are influencing the butterflies.
Yeah, super interesting. So I'm curious, what types of butterflies have you seen out here? Could you give us a couple?
Yeah, we've seen monarchs, we've seen swallowtails, skippers, sulfurs, kind of all the usuals you'd expect to see maybe.
Yeah, great. And then when you're done with your research, what does success looks like? What is your end goal of your research?
Yeah, I would say that our primary goal is to see reduced shrub density. So we want to see fewer shrub stems. And then at the same time, we want to see more cover of grasses and flowers, and maybe even more diversity. So we want to see more plant species. And then at the same time, we want to make sure we're not having any negative ecosystem impacts with the cows. So that's why we're tracking butterflies. We want to make sure we're not seeing any changes in the population, or if anything, maybe we're increasing the population of butterflies.
So I find it really interesting that you're tying cows into your research, and they're so important in eating down the shrubbery to create new prairie grasses and flowers. But what else can cows just stay out here for a long time, or do you have to move them? Or tell me about the whole cow process.
Yeah, I think that's a really important question. Some people worry about cows having bad impacts on ecosystems, but what we're doing out here is called targeted grazing. And so we're putting the cows on the landscape for a really short amount of time. We're putting them at a super high density, so we've had about 400 cows on just a 1-acre area. So if you can imagine, they're shoulder to shoulder, but we've only got them in here for a couple hours, like 3 or 4 hours at a time, and then we're moving them on so that the ecosystem has plenty of time to recover and those grasses and flowers can grow back and be healthy. So yeah.
But cows have dung, right? And then cow dung everywhere. That can't be good for butterflies, can it?
Yeah, so actually there's been studies that show that butterflies are more common in areas with cow or bison poop, because they're able to feed off the poop and use the poop liquid as a source of nutrients and minerals.
Yeah, so eating cow poop doesn't sound good to me, but a butterfly likes it. I guess they put their proboscis right in there and get those minerals out of cow dung. Isn't that crazy? Well, I think we should go find some cows.
Sounds good.
right, so Austin, we found the cows. They're out here. It looks like they're just taking a little siesta, taking it easy, not eating a lot of shrubs right now. But exciting to see their role in creating a better ecosystem and bringing back the oak savannas, right?
Yeah, there they are in action.
Cool. So that's all I have today. I'm glad you joined us for this video on oak savannas and how it relates to butterflies. It's Dave the Butterfly Guy with PhD researcher Austin Yantes. We're signing out for the day. Have a great day.
See ya.